All right, how y'all doing? You know how I do. Stay chopping it up. I want to talk about the laws of attraction, but I want to talk about it from a scientific standpoint, biological standpoint, right? I do believe it works, and I want to discuss the mechanisms of the laws of attraction, the actual moving parts, right? Standard people tell you the standard stuff, right? Like, okay, if you think about something, you work hard towards it. You put pictures of it, put pictures of it up around your house, whatever. You know, get like all kind of rituals, and it's supposed to work. Well, I don't believe it's that simple. You can put pictures up all you want. If there's certain things that's not being practiced, it's not going to happen. All right. I don't believe in blind definition of laws of attraction. But I do believe in the laws of attraction, though. I just have, I found, like, personally, I found my own, what can I say, scientific explanation and, or biological explanation. And I want to start with the biological explanation first. Okay. We consist of over 100 trillion cells. That's a lot of cells, right? Uh, I want to talk about how cells illustrate the laws of attraction, right? First of all, what's a cell, right? Cell is you know, every every living organism have cells, right? And there's two types of cell, prokaryote and eukaryote, right? Prokaryote does not have a nucleus or an organelle or a membrane organelle, whereas a eukaryotic cell does. It has it's multicellular. It has a cell membrane organelle, and it has a nucleus where the DNA and everything resides. Uh, what is interesting, right, is that, again, cells are the basic units for all living organisms, right? Building they're the well, within the cell we have the proteins, which are the workhorses, but within the cell there's a substrate or a subunit that's called an organelle. An organelle is a department within the cell. It's like a sub unit within the cell. Yeah. And then within the organelle, which is a department within the cell, there's an area that's called a ribosome. Now, the ribosome, I spoke about the ribosome in previous videos, but not in terms of the laws of attraction. It's interesting how I'm going to tie this into the laws of attraction. I thought it was pretty cool. So the ribosome, its purpose is to build. That's it. Its only purpose is to build and to manifest, to reproduce what it has been given. So when you have cell reproduction or cell replication or cell division, any one of these terms you want to use, what's happening is that within the ribosome, information is allotted or copied to the ribosome, uh, or transferred. Better word, right? Information, whether it's from the tRNA, mRNA, RNA, information is transferred to the ribosome, and within the ribosome, the information is copied, and a gene product is the result of the information. Okay, that's biology, very simple, right? How does that work with laws of attraction? Is this: the cell's ribosome will always reproduce what it is given. I'm going to say that again. What is given or transferred to the ribosome, it simply reproduces it and manifests it. So whatever is given to the ribosome within the cell simply reproduces it and manifests the gene product of whatever was inputted within the gene, within the ribosome in the cell. I I found that very insightful in terms of the laws of attraction, because what is given to you, what you give to yourself in terms of your thought process, what you play, your input will determine the output. I'll say that again. what you put in is what you're going to get out. And in your thinking, right? Your conscious and mostly your sub, not your just conscious, but what you input into your subconscious mind, like the ribosome, is going to reproduce that and give you the manifestation of that product. Or, yeah, the manifestation of that product. The ribosome, like the laws of attraction, the information that's transferred to it is purely information. Once the information is transferred to the ribosome manifests that information by giving it substance or solidity, solidifies the information. It goes in as just purely genetic information, comes out as a solid in terms of protein, because a protein is manifested, right? Yeah, a protein is manifested, or another cell is manifested, cell reproduction, another cell is manifested. But the information that the ribosome get is purely genetic information. That's it. It's RNA transferred information. That's it. But that information has the instructions of how to build and how to reproduce that product, which is a protein product, right? Because protein, the amino acids, is what makes all of us, what builds everything, right? If protein are the workhorses within cells. So the genetic instructions and information is transferred to the ribosome. The ribosome has only one purpose, and it can only reproduce what it is given. It's a very strict, very draconianly strict, right? Draconian, meaning like extremely exact and precise, because another human or another species or another cell is being reproduced. So everything has to be precise. And when you think about how that biological or that microbiological, because this is on a very small scale, but if you think about that biological process and the biological mechanism to how the cell works and the ribosome within the cell, how cells reproduce after what is given to it, right? Exactly and precisely. And cells are reproducing all the time, around the clock. And again, as I said when I started, we have over 100 trillion cells that make up our entire being, our entire, physical form. So that means if our cells are always reproducing what is given to it, then that means on a vibratory level, right? On a subatomic vibrational level, we are naturally reproducing what we're given to ourselves, right? I just explained to you the micro mechanisms, the micro workings of how the ribosome operates and within the cell. Take that concept and bring that to the forefront of where you are right now, physically, right now. Whether you're sitting down, you're at work, wherever you are, bring that to the forefront of your mind right now, and think about that in the sense that if we have over 100 trillion cells and our cells are constantly receiving information, and I gave you the example on the micro scale, whether it's the messenger RNA, the tRNA, transfer RNA, if our cells are constantly getting information and reproducing that information and manifesting and developing and producing the product of that information, take that concept and apply it to the macro, meaning on a larger scale, to yourself, right? Your body right now, without you doing anything, is constantly reproducing cues and signals that it's picking up from your environment. I'm going to say that again. Your body, your mind, mainly your mind, your subconscious, and your being are continuously reproducing what it is picking up in terms of signals and cues from the environment. So if the environment of your subconscious mind is constant with something that you wish to achieve, then your heart have what's called a synode, synode. I think that's how you spell it, synode. A synode is all right, put it like this. You know how you get a pacemaker, right? If your heart has is beating a rhythmic, I think it's called a rhythmic beats or rhythmical. Yeah, I think it's called like a rhythmic beat, which means like it's not beating regular, it's not beating on a regular pace. The doctors can put what's called a pacemaker. Okay, the pacemaker is an artificial man-made synode. The pacemaker synode is the biological pacemaker. It's the natural pacemaker that you have with that allows your heart to beat. Every time you have a pulse, that's your synode. Synode is responsible for the pulse. That's what pacemaker does. But here's what's interesting. Every time you have a pulse as a result of the synode, you release electricity. That's why when you go to the hospital, they do clear and they shock you, psh, psh, right? They give you a shock. Your heart naturally does that by means of a synode. So every time your heart pulsates, you're actually emitting or radiating electricity, right? That electricity creates your magnetic field. So you naturally have a field around you, right? If our eyes were infrared sensitive, we'd be able to see your field. We could look at each other and see each other's field. And then we can see what kind of wavelength you're actually in. Negative, positive, mediocre, whatever, right? You can see that, but we don't have the photo receptors of our eyes, the cones and the rods are not infrared sensitive to see that, into that realm. So, but be that as that may, the point I'm making is because we have this natural electrical field that we're always radiating and emitting, and our cells are always producing, and understand that it's called an electromagnetic field. The magnetic aspect is what I want you to think about. So we are by means, we know what magnet is, or magnetized. So we're naturally attracting things to us. And because of our cells innate, right? Or, excuse me, our cells has a organic reproduction disposition, meaning our cells have to reproduce because that's how they're designed. It's not, oh, I feel like reproducing today, I can take off tomorrow, maybe. No, they have to reproduce, right? Just like you have to exhale and inhale. There's no, you know what, I don't want to breathe today. Today I'm going to take off from exhaling, right? It's just, right? So just basic science. Your cells have to reproduce. So with your field, the magnetic aspect of your field attracting things to you in terms of frequency, your cells are picking up cues from the environment because you're attracting things to you. And the things that you're attracting to you, your cells have what's called receptors, cell receptors, right? So they're naturally going to pick up the cues from your environment. And when they're picking up the cues from your environment, because they are reproducers by nature, they are going to work in conjunction with your field, right? It's a corporation, cooperation between both entities, and naturally are going to reproduce what is in that field. What you're attracting to yourself, you naturally have to reproduce and manifest. And this is what I'm explaining to you is the mechanism, right? The step by step, tit for tat, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, of how the laws of attraction actually works, right? It's not just read a book, think about it, and it's going to pop up. No, it's more dense and much more profound than that. So there is a scientifical, logical, and rational explanation as to how the laws of attraction work. So in conjunction, again, with your natural magnetic field that you are constantly radiating, and the power of magnetism inherent in the magnetic field, you're naturally going to attract entities or energies that are on the same wavelength as what you are radiating, right? Because it has to be a frequency matching. You're not going to attract something to you that you don't match. It has to be a match. Your energy has to match the energy that you want to be to attract to you. So once there's a matching, it's going to naturally attract itself to you, right? And then your cells, because they are reproducers, you remember how I explained, once the cells get the information, I made a video when I talk about a virus. A virus is nothing more than genetic information that latches onto a cell, the ribosome, namely, and then it overrides the system of the ribosome, and the ribosome reproduces the tainted DNA, which is the virus, and the virus get to express its gene product. So your cells, no matter what the information that latches on to the membrane of the cell doesn't distinguish whether it is positive, negative, if it's right, wrong. It simply reproduces the information given to it. And this is how the technicals, the details, the minutiae of the laws of attraction actually works. So when you understand the powers or the requisites that are necessary, that necessitates the fulfillment of these laws of attraction, then you can implement that law forcefully, effectively, and efficiently into your life. So, read all the books you want, post all the pictures you want on your wall, and do all the affirmations you want. Not saying that it won't help, but that alone won't manifest, right? And I could tell you why, but I don't want to go too long in this video, but I can tell you why it won't work. There's a scientific explanation for that as well, but we'll save that for another time. All right. I don't want to kind of overwhelm you with too much, but that is a scientific and biological explanation of the laws of attraction. Again, your cells, you are a walking, talking human cell yourself, and cells have to reproduce what they are given. So if you give yourself the right information, meditate with meditation and constancy, and maintaining a attitude of gratitude, right? Being thankful and having an attitude that is in just right in terms of being positive, but not just positive, but just being very enthusiastic about the goal that you have in mind, and keeping that in mind, it will manifest. Also, I gotta let you know, this is very, very important. There's two loops, and this is so, like, this is vitally important. Feedback loop, right? The feedback loop is actually the laws of attraction working as well. Feedback loop, excuse me, is a mechanism as well. It's my light just went out. Sorry about that. Lights just went out. The feedback loop is one of the mechanisms that the laws of attraction uses to manifest your desires. And what I mean by the feedback loop is, we know what a feedback loop means, that the more a product is created, the more the manufacturer makes that product. I'll say that again. It's kind of sounding weird, but the more a product is made, the more of a product that was made, the more product is made. Confused? Yeah, it does kind of sound confusing, but I'll say it again. The more something is made, right, the more the manufacturer makes that product. So if I'm a manufacturer and I make product A, right, the more product A I make, the more product A I'm going to make. It's called a positive feedback loop, right? So the more I manufacture something, the more of it that I make, the more of it I continue to make. And it just continues like that. The cycle just continues. And again, that's how your cells would work in the sense, right? The more you give it, the more it manufactures. The more it manufactures, the more it manufactures. And the more it manufactures, and the more it manufactures. Usually it's a cycle. So it's called a feedback loop. So that is a mechanism or a tool of how the laws of attraction actually works. The more you feed your subconscious, the more you feed your cells, right, the more they're going to produce. And the more they produce, the more they're going to produce. And the more they produce, the more they're going to continue. And that's called a positive feedback loop. And there's the negative feedback loop as well. We could discuss that another time. I don't want to overwhelm you with too much. But again, hopefully some of this was useful and you could put this into practice. Till next time, y'all know what I'm going to be doing, cooking these books.